Hey there, true believers, and welcome to our special Valentine's Day edition of All Things Marvel. With so many epic romances scattered across Marvel Comics, the MCU, and animated series, despite all of the intergalactic threats, love still finds a place in the Marvel Universe. Today on Stanley Presents, we're counting down the top 10 Marvel romances, spotlighting the couples whose stories have made us laugh, cry, and cheer. From time-traveling reunions to tragic separations, these relationships prove that the heart wants what it wants, even if it has to go through multiple realities to find it. So, get ready and prepare those tissues because these love stories will take you on an emotional roller coaster. First up, we have Reed Richards and Sue Storm, the cornerstone of Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four. What began as mutual respect between Reed's brilliant but sometimes distant intellect and Sue's compassionate leadership quickly blossomed into romance. Despite Reed's workaholic nature, vanishing into his lab for days on end, Sue has always been there, being the invisible glue keeping the team and their marriage together. If you need proof that their love is true, one of the most heartwarming displays of their love appears in the film Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, where Reed momentarily abandons his beloved scientific pursuits to orchestrate the perfect wedding for Sue. Yes, the man abandoned work for his partner. You'd think that would be something that most people would do normally, but, because he's such a workaholic, I guess this is where he shows that he cares for Sue more than his work. While their world is often threatened by the likes of Doctor Doom and cosmic threats like Galactus, the love for these two remains as strong as superpowers. Now, with a brand new Fantastic Four film on the horizon, which a trailer just launched today as I'm recording, I honestly can't wait to see how this iconic love story takes shape and evolves. So far, with the trailer, looks great. Hopefully the film is great too. Now, let's swap those cosmic adventures for some adamantium claws, as we head into our next romance between Wolverine and Jean Grey. At our number 9 spot, we have this intense and often heartbreaking pairing. When Logan joined the X-Men, his attraction to Jean was palpable. Dude saw Jean like an actual Wolverine sees prey. But there was one small eensy-weensy major complication. Jean was already with Scott Summers. Despite the rivalry and tension, Wolverine's respect for Jean's intelligence power never wavered, and Jean recognized something deeply human beneath Logan's gruff exterior. In X2, X-Men United, Logan and Jean Grey share a brief but tender exchange that hinted that Jean might have actually felt something for Logan as well, even if her heart still longed for Scott. This budding romance is shattered completely, however, in X-Men The Last Stand, where Wolverine is forced to end Jean's suffering at the hands of the Phoenix Force. It's a reminder that in the Marvel Universe, love can be both a source of hope and devastating sacrifice. And if you thought that was bad, we got more on this list. We crossed the Bifrost to examine the relationship between Thor, the god of thunder, and little old human Jane Foster, the brilliant astrophysicist. Their love story kicked off when Thor crash-landed on Earth, and Jane's scientific curiosity led her to study him, and ultimately fall for him and his muscles. Despite Thor's initial arrogance, idiocy, and Asgardian swagger, Jane saw what was beneath this handsome, godly facade. And she wasn't alone. Thor also fell for her as well, and his devotion to Jane can be seen in Thor: The Dark World, when he whisks Jane away to Asgard for her protection. We don't really learn that much from their relationship from that point on, only that as time passed, they drifted apart. That is until Thor: Love and Thunder, where Jane returns wielding Mjolnir as the mighty Thor. The rekindling of their bond is painfully short-lived, however, as it's revealed that Jane was battling cancer, and that battle ended with her heartbreaking demise, leaving Thor alone and, who knows, potentially seeking new relationships in the MCU? We'll see. Now let's actually return to the X-Men side of the Marvel Universe for a romance that proves patience can overcome even the most difficult powers. Number 7 on our list is a romance defined by electricity and restraint. Like, literally, Rogue's powers, if you didn't already know, making physical contact is a bit of a dangerous game. But that never stopped Gambit from trying to steal her heart. From the moment they teamed up in the X-Men, Gambit demonstrated a resolve and patience that matched Rogue's longing for connection. One of their standout moments comes from X-Men the Animated Series, when Gambit tells Rogue he'll wait as long as it takes for her. This simple line speaks volumes about his devotion. As with a lot of relationships behind the scenes, their love story has had its fair share of drama over the years, but ultimately, in the comics, Rogue and Gambit tie the knot, proving that a true connection can power through even the toughest barriers, even if that barrier is literal physical contact. Now, switching gears from PG-13 flirting to something a little bit more rated R, let's move on to our next unconventional couple. At number 6, we have probably one of the more raunchier romances on this list, Deadpool and Vanessa. The two of them share a sense of dark humor and a knack for finding acceptance in each other's flaws, which makes them one of Marvel's most endearingly odd couples. From the moment Wade Wilson is diagnosed with terminal cancer, which unfortunately would make some people question their loyalty, Vanessa never flinches, with her loyalty and love shining through the chaos of his life as a mercenary. However, in Deadpool 2, tragedy strikes the pair when Vanessa is killed, prompting Wade to set off on a blood-soaked path of revenge. But in typical Deadpool fashion, he uses time travel antics to save her in the end, adding a comedic twist to this otherwise heart-wrenching storyline. In Deadpool and Wolverine, we know that the relationship hits yet another snag, with their status as a couple left ambiguous until the next film. But if Wade's commitment to saving their literal universe from pruning says anything about the guy, I'm sure Vanessa will come back to him eventually. Next, we trade in our Desert Eagles and katanas and don our web shooters to explore the first half of Spider-Man's most famous love dilemma. Coming in at number 5, Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy's relationship is as classic as it is tragic. In the comics, they meet in college. In the Amazing Spider-Man films, it's high school. Yet, in every version, their bond sparks through a shared intellect, mutual respect, and an adorable blend of academic banter. It also helps that Gwen's encouraging presence helps Peter realize that he doesn't have to bear the weight of his superhero responsibilities alone, which is oftentimes something Peter has to deal with. However, most of us know what usually happens at the end, and no Spider-Man story is more haunting than Gwen's death at the hands of the Green Goblin. Here's what usually happens. In a desperate attempt to save Gwen from plunging to her death, Peter's webline catches her just a split second too late. It is a gut-wrenching moment that defines his sense of responsibility forever. And we kinda see it on display in Spider-Man No Way Home when he saves MJ for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Okay, gonna go off script for a second. The moment with Gwen was really rough. Like, I knew what was going to happen. Even in the theaters when I was watching The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I knew what was going to happen. But the way it played out on screen, like with the sound effect when her head taps the ground, it's a lot. It was a lot. And it made me very, very sad. And seeing Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man kind of tear up after saving MJ, that hit hard, because it was like this roundabout way of giving him justice for what he was unable to do in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Okay, I'm done. Back to the script. So, luckily, if that's even the right word to be saying right now, the wall crawler's romantic journey doesn't end here. Our next couple will explore the other leading lady in Peter's life. It's a little bit of a doozy. Peter Parker's relationship with Mary Jane Watson is arguably just as iconic. Whether it's the Spider-Man comics or the Sam Raimi films, MJ offers both a fiery personality and a comforting presence to ground Peter amid his dizzying double life. Anyway, the upside-down kiss in 2002's Spider-Man remains one of cinema's most unforgettable romantic scenes, capturing the sheer excitement of their bond. Editor, can you find that picture of Martin Scorsese saying cinema and put it somewhere in that scene? Perfect. Their story differs across various Marvel timelines. Sometimes they marry and face life's challenges together, and sometimes, like in Spider-Man No Way Home, they're painfully separated, with MJ forgetting who Peter ever was and will be. Whichever version you follow, the question remains: are you Team Gwen or Team MJ? Let us know in the comments. Now, stepping away from high school heartbreak, let's suit up for our next power couple on the list, Tony Stark and Pepper Potts. Now, Tony Stark's romance with Pepper Potts might not be as flashy as an Iron Man suit, but it's no less impactful, especially for Tony. Pepper began as Tony's assistant and moral compass, counterbalancing his brash genius billionaire persona. Over time, their banter and professional synergy blossomed into genuine affection for one another, which culminated in Tony's realization that she was the reason he truly wanted to become a better man. By Iron Man 3, we see Tony's instinct to protect Pepper at all costs, like sending his armor to shield her instead of himself. Eventually, the two marry and welcome a daughter, Morgan. Unfortunately, this fairy tale ending takes a turn in Avengers Endgame, where Tony's sacrifice to stop Thanos leaves Pepper and all of us completely heartbroken. I never thought I would cry during a superhero film, let alone for Tony Stark, but there I was, crying like the biggest baby ever. It was crazy. Next, let's travel back in time, quite literally, for our penultimate Marvel love story. Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter share a timeless war-man's romance that kicked off in Captain America: The First Avenger. Peggy saw the strength and virtue in Steve before he transformed into a super soldier, valuing his compassion and courage. And over time, their bond grew against the backdrop of World War II, with each moment underscoring how Peggy appreciated who Steve was, and not the hunk of a super soldier that he became. Like a lot of these Marvel romances, their love story takes a bittersweet turn when Steve is frozen in ice for decades, losing the chance to be with Peggy in her prime. However, Avengers Endgame delivered Cap the ultimate reward. Steve is given a chance to go back in time to return the Infinity Stones, but he obviously had other plans and was okay with it and stayed in the past, giving himself and Peggy the life and dance they were originally denied. Few MCU couples get such a satisfying resolution, and you would totally think that this was our top pick, but our top pick takes a more cosmic and reality-bending approach to love. But before that, I'd like to give some honorable mentions. There are a few pairs that narrowly missed our top 10 but still deserve the spotlight. First up, Bruce Banner and Betty Ross, whose love has been overshadowed by the not-so-jolly green giant lurking within Bruce. Then there's Clint and Laura Barton, who lead an admirably normal life despite Clint's avenging day job, proving not all Marvel romances need cosmic threats to be compelling. And who could forget Loki and Sylvie? While it's not your traditional romance by any means, it's certainly a fascinating exploration of self-love, literally. Watching the God of Mischief learn to care for someone other than himself, even if it's just a variant of himself, adds a unique twist to the Marvel love canon. Now that we've honored these noteworthy couples, let's bring our countdown to a close with Wanda Maximoff and Vision, a pairing that defies all conventional definitions of romance. Their initial connection sparks in Avengers Age of Ultron as Wanda grapples with her powers and Vision comes to life via the Mind Stone. In many ways, they're both outsiders trying to understand a world that fears what it can control, and that shared sense of alienation brings them closer. We eventually see their relationship deepen in Captain America: Civil War as Vision attempts to learn compassion while Wanda struggles with her own growing powers. Despite the tension tearing the Avengers apart, Wanda and Vision protect each other, culminating in Avengers Infinity War, where Thanos' quest for the Infinity Stones forces Wanda to make an agonizing choice, resulting in her having to watch Vision die not once, but twice. This grief is what leads us into WandaVision, a series where Wanda's heartbreak warps reality itself. Inside her sitcom-inspired fantasy, Wanda resurrects Vision and creates an ideal life for them, only to realize by the end that she must eventually let him go. It's a story that's as poignant as it is devastating, proving that sometimes the strongest magic might honestly be the spark of love. And that's our list. Marvel's romances pack just as much punch as their action scenes, and if this trip through memory lane didn't remind you of that, then I don't know what will. Behind every super soldier serum, godly hammers, or high-tech suit of armor, there's a heart that yearns for love, and the baggage that comes with it. Did we miss your favorite Marvel couple? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite superhero stories. From all of us here, have a heroic and heartfelt Valentine's Day. As Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!